Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off our carabiner top by selecting a new component and naming it such. Now that we have our new component and it is our active component, we will come up here and we will create a sketch and we will place it right here on this laying down plane. Once we're there, we'll select the center diameter circle, put it on our origin, and we will dimension it to 0.515. Once I got my circle on there, I'm going to zoom in a little so I can see it a little better, and I'm going to finish my sketch. Once I finish my sketch, I'm going to now come up here to offset plane, and I'm going to select the offset plane, and I'm going to put it on that same sketch that we were working with, so I can just use this one right here, and then I'm going to offset it to 0.375, which will look like this, and I will hit OK. Once I have my floating offset plane, I will come up here to create a sketch and place it right on that offset. From there, I will go up to create again, and I'm going to go down to the rectangle option so I get these other possibilities, and I'm going to select this one at the bottom right here that says center rectangle. What that's going to do is that's going to allow me to place one point on the origin, and then when I drag back, it'll create both of the lines. At the top, we want that dimension to be 0.3. So I'll just type that in since that was the number that was blue. And then when I hit tab, it'll change to the other dimension that I can put in as 0.45. After I hit enter, you'll see it turns black, so it's fully dimensioned, constrained. And we will then come up to fillet, and we will round out all of these corners by first selecting the vertical line, then the horizontal line. Horizontal line, then vertical line. Vertical line, horizontal, horizontal, vertical. And once all four of them have created that curve, they are all linked together by these constraints. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come into this blue box that's already highlighted for me, and I'm just going to type 0.1, which will just kind of curve these angles out a little more, and I'll hit enter. And you can see that radius dimension right here of the 0.1 for all of them. Once we have all of that, we'll go ahead and finish our sketch. And again, anytime we've created two shapes separated by an offset, we are typically going to be lofting them, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So go into create and choose loft, and then we're just going to select the top and the bottom and hit OK. From here, I'm going to create a sketch, and I want it on this one right here, so I'm going to scroll out so I can access it and just select it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create an ellipse. And we're going to put the ellipse first on the origin so it kind of snaps to this green line when we move up. And then I'm just going to kind of draw my ellipse right along that green line. Doesn't matter what it really looks like, because as we always do, we'll fully constrain it in just a moment, starting off with hitting the constraint option right here for horizontal vertical, so we can lock this point right above this origin. Then we'll hit the D key, which turns to our dimension option, or you can go into create and come down here to sketch dimension. And you'll see there's the D, that's the shortcut. And what we're going to do is we'll select the top and then the bottom, and we'll put that at 1.3. Then we're going to select the center point and the origin again, and we'll set that to 0.975. And then last but not least, left to right, and we want it to be 0.75. Once we have our ellipse and everything is dimensioned and everything is black, the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to come up here to our offset, and we're going to select this outside rim, and we want to offset it to a negative 0.15, which will create this inner ring just like so, and we will hit OK. And you will see that that 0.15 ring shows up right here that separates basically how far in this has come. Once we have that ring on there, we can go ahead and we can finish our sketch, and you will see it from this perspective. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create another offset plane, and we want it on this one that's lying down, and we want it to offset at 0.975, which is exactly where we had set this point away from the origin. And you're going to see if I turn my cube right here, you'll see that it perfectly matches up with that line. And I am going to go ahead and hit OK, and I'm going to create a sketch and place it right on that offset. As soon as I do that, it's going to turn my piece like so, but what I need to do is come back up here to this cube, and I'm going to turn it back because I need this line. And what I'm going to do to be able to interact with it is I'm going to hit the P key for project, and I'm going to just select that line and hit OK. Now, once you select the line, you'll see those purple dots show up on either end, and now I can go back to my top, and I will hit the top so I can look at it from this perspective. Remember, if yours is not looking like this with your line running up the middle, put your cursor on the cube here, and you will see these pop up, and you can always rotate it around to fit your need. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create a line tool, but we want it to be a construction line. So we're going to come into our sketch palette over here, and we're going to select this option right here that says construction line. Once we have it, we're going to come down to the bottom below our piece, and we're just going to run a line basically across that purple line that we have, and then we're going to just select this checkbox because we no longer need the line tool. And we're actually going to turn off the construction line just so we don't forget later. Now, I'm going to come up to horizontal vertical because I want to make sure that that line is exactly where I want it. And I'm going to hold my shift key, and I'm going to place it on that line until that X shows up. Once I see that X, I will left click, and then I can come up here and I can left click it right onto the line at the origin point, and it'll snap it right in place. From there, I'm going to hit the D key again, and you'll see the dimensioning tool on my cursor, and I'm going to select from one side to the other, and I want that to be 0.3. Next, I will select from this point to this point. And be careful because you can get a lot of different kind of dimension angles here. And what we want is this one that's going to go straight out. And we're going to select that, and we're going to put 0.175 and hit enter. From here, we have dimensioned that line where we want it, and now we're going to zoom in a little because we're going to now create a bunch of arcs. In the first arc, we're going to come up and go under create and choose the 3-point arc. And what we're going to do is we're going to double check that our line is not on construction, which it is not. Nothing is selected here. So I'm going to come back to this point, and I'm going to choose the left point of my line. Then I'm going to choose the right point of my line. And you can see that I kind of missed it there. I didn't actually, when I went to put it on there, I moved it up. So I'm going to hit Control Z and get rid of that. And I'm going to go back into arc and do this again. 3-point arc. Nothing's on. So I select the point again. Again, make sure it's on that point. That box is around it. Select there. And then last, I'm going to pull it down and make sure the box goes around this purple dot at the bottom. And I will select it, and once I do, you'll see that it'll constrain itself to be that black line. Now, still on the arc tool, I'm actually going to put it right back on that same left corner of my line, but this time you'll see that this dot showed up, which is the arc portion of this dot. So we're going to just snap it there and pull it down, snap it here to the right, and we're just going to kind of make sure that these arcs are slightly different. Once we have them on there, we're going to come up here to our constraints, and we're going to select this one that says equal. Once we have that constraint on our cursor, we'll just select both arcs, and they'll kind of just put them together so they mirror each other. Once we have them mirrored, we can now hit the dimensioning key or the D key again right here. And we're going to set the radius to be 0.2. and we can hit enter. And you'll see that the radius will show up here, and it'll make both of those lines black now. Once we have dimensioned that radius at to 0.2, we can go ahead and we can finish our sketch. And then I'm going to hit the home key so I can see that this is what my overall sketch now looks like. From here, I'm going to go up to create, and I'm going to go down to sweep. And when I get the sweep box here, the first thing it's going to ask me is, well, what do you want to sweep, which is this profile that's selected. And I am going to select this little wing that I just made a minute ago between those two arcs that we just put on, and then this ring. And once I have both of them, I'm going to go back into my sweep box and choose the path option. And then I'm going to choose this outside line right here, and you're going to see it's going to make the carabiner top. However, when it pops up, because it's going to end up running through a piece of our object down here at the bottom, it's going to show up as a cut, so we're going to change that operation to join, and there will be our piece, and we can hit OK. All right, now that we have our piece, the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to grab this part and we're going to connect them a little better, so when it does 3D print, it will actually be a better secure point. So all we have to do that is hit extrude, and we're going to select this profile plane, and then we're going to select this side. Once we've done both of those things, we're going to come up here under extent, and we're going to change distance to to object. Once I've done that, I may have to come back and select this again, or even possibly that side. And once I've selected both of those sides, you might get this weird kind of cut. But don't worry about it, because what we're going to do is in our extrude box, right here, you will see this new option pop up. And currently it says to selected face. And what we want to change it to is to adjacent faces. Because what it did was it went to the top face, and we want to go to the closest face, the one next to it. Once that's there, you will see your operation will change to join, and then you can just hit OK. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create another offset plane, and we're going to select this one right here. And if you need to zoom back a bit to see it a little better or select it, we're going to select this one here, and we're going to type in 0.155. And if I turn my cube to the front, so if you look up here to the front where I'm looking at this, basically the side of my piece, you're seeing that it's moving out in this direction, which is what we want. And we're going to hit OK, and you'll see it's still kind of right here in front of our piece. Now we're going to go ahead and create a sketch, and we're going to put it on that offset that we put right in front of our piece. From here, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to hit the P key, and we're going to project this line, which goes about 3/4 of the way around, and then we have to select this line, which is the last quarter piece. So we have the whole inside of our piece selected, and we can hit OK. And our purple dots show up. It's showing that our line is purple and that we projected it properly. So once we've got that, we can come up to create, and we're going to go down to ellipse. And we're pretty much going to make the exact same ellipse we made before, the one that made this whole piece that we're looking at. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it back on the cursor, drag it up so it's on our green line, place it right in the middle of our cursor, of our piece, and left click, drag down, left click, drag out, and just kind of make it bigger than your current piece. But we're going to dimension it the exact same way. We're going to come up under horizontal vertical first, select the dot in the middle of our ellipse, and then select our origin. Now we'll hit the D key to dimension it, and we're going to first dimension again from the middle dot of our piece to our origin, and we again want it to be 0.975, and we'll hit enter. Then we're going to go left to right, 0.75, and finally from top to bottom, 1.3. And that will fully construe our entire piece. So we have our ring around the outside and our projected ring on the inside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up to our line tool, and the first thing we're going to do after we grab it is come over here and make it a construction line again. Once we have our construction line, we're going to place it right at the top of our ellipse that we just made, so that big blue box shows up around it when we interact with it. And we'll left click and just drag it to the left. I'm going to make sure that I end that line by clicking on this green checkbox. And then I still have my line tool attached, so I'll just put it at the bottom of my ellipse, left click, drag it to the left, and left click on this little checkbox again. So I still have my line tool, but now I want to turn off my construction. And I am going to now zoom in a little bit and make sure, this is kind of important, make sure that you are definitely on this moving inner ring of this X. So that blue X shows up and you're going to left click. Now we're going to bring this over to the outside edge, again making sure we're on that ring, and we will left click. Now we come down here right below this line and we'll make another one. Again, outside to inside, just like so. And you can see that both of those lines are blue, and they are because they're not dimensioned. So let's go ahead and hit the D key to dimension them. And the first dimension that we're going to make is going to be from that construction line at the top to this dot at the top. And we're going to set that distance to be 0.425. So now we have to just get the other side, so this part of the dot to the line, and this one we want to be 0.55. And you can see that it's stuck right on those two edges, so I don't have to worry about it. So now we'll come to the bottom, and we'll select this point here to the bottom, and we want it to be 0.425. Enter, and now we want this front one to the bottom to be 0.4, just like so. Now once those are construed and we have our, everything is black, so it's fully constrained, we're going to go ahead and hit finish sketch, and I'm going to just turn my box like so, just a little bit, so I can see it from this perspective, and you can see that ellipse right in front of the piece we just made. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to extrude, and we're going to select that area between those two lines we were just messing around with and creating. So we'll select it, and then we're going to grab this arrow and just drag it to the left, which will just cut a hole right through our ellipse like we want, and we'll hit OK. Now once we've cut that out, what we can do is we can actually launch our service utility, which tells me my internet is breaking, but that's okay. I don't need it right now, so I'm just going to ignore it. As I was saying, what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new sketch, but we're going to create a new sketch on a plane we've used in the past, so there's no point in making it again. So what we can do is we can come over here to where it says our carabiner top, and we can select the arrow to the left of it, and that will open up our origin, bodies, sketches, and construction. Well, all of our offset planes are here under the construction setting. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up that construction option, and you will see our three planes, and we can turn them all on. See the one that we put in at 0.975 or 0.375, then 0.975, and then the one that we did here at 0.155. So what we want, or the one that we want on, is plane 3. So we'll turn off the other two, and we're going to create a sketch and place it right on that plane 3. That will turn my piece this way, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to first hit the P key for project, and I will select this line first and then this line. And the purpose of selecting both of those is to create that purple circle right there. And we're going to use that purple circle with our line tool. Make sure it's not a construction line, and we're going to place it right on that point that we need. We're going to left click, and we're going to drag it to the left And then we're going to drag it back down so it's again, I can see that I'm on my purple X is, or blue X, sorry, is on this edge, and I will left click. Now we're going to dimension from this point to this point, and we want it to be 0.145. Enter. And then we're going to select this point to this point, and be careful. We don't want it to be on a dimension like this. We want it on a dimension from this angle that follows the same angle of the line we're looking at here. And when we have it, we're going to set it to 0.12. which will then kind of create this triangle, and we can finish our sketch, and we're going to hit extrude, and we're going to type in negative 0.09. And you will see if I grab my cube up here that it's going to kind of cut in a little notch at the top of that piece right there, exactly what we want it. We don't want it to go all the way across, just in a little bit, and we can hit OK. Now, just because I'm in a weird view, I'm going to hit my home key so I can see myself back in this particular perspective. And I am now going to create another offset plane. So we're going to come up to construct, and we're going to select this offset plane right here in the very front of my object. And I'm going to set it to negative 0.5. which then moves it right here in the front of my piece. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to then hit the home key again so I can see it a little easier, and I will create a sketch and place it right on that offset plane. From here, it's going to spin my piece around, so I'm looking at it pretty much dead on, and I'm going to zoom in so I can interact with these lines and these points. And I'm going to hit the P key so I can project them. Project first this point, then this little arc line. Don't grab the whole piece, just this little arc. Then the other part of the arc here, and then the other point. So I have 4 things selected, and I can hit OK. Now, I'm going to use the line tool, but this one I do want to be construction. So I'm going to come back to my sketch palette and turn on my construction line. And I'm going to select this point and that point. And I'm going to again come back to my sketch palette and turn off my construction lines, because I want to now use the 2-point rectangle, and I need this one to not come up as a construction line. So step 1, put it right here on this dotted line that we just made. So it snaps onto it, and we're going to left click, and I'm going to just drag it kind of out to a random amount. Now, once I have that, the next thing I'm going to do is go up to my constraints, and we're going to choose a new one here. This one's called midpoint, and we're going to select the midpoint. Now, this one might be a little tricky because these 2 lines are on top of each other. So what we want to do is we want to select the rectangle blue line, but not the whole blue line. And you can see that the whole construction line has shown up there when I select it. But if I move it up a little bit more, it will just select that line. So I'm going to first select just the line of my rectangle. And you can see that this is not blue yet. So now I'm going to move my cursor over here so I can select that dotted line. And you will see that constraint icon has just shown up, and they centered this line on this line. Now we're going to hit the D key so we can dimension our rectangle. And we want from the top of the rectangle to the bottom of the rectangle to be 0.3. And we want from the right side to the left side to be 0.115. And that will fully constrain our rectangle, and we can go ahead and finish our sketch. And I'm going to turn it a little bit this way so you can see what's about to happen. And I am going to extrude this, that one, and this one to 0.5, which is going to cut a hole right through the middle of that piece, just like we wanted it to. And we can hit OK. Once we have that cut, I'm going to hit the home key again, and I'm actually going to come back over here, and I'm going to turn that plane 4 right back on so I can see it again, so I can create another sketch right there on the front. Okay, so now this one's a little different in the fact that it doesn't quite work the way he often shows it in the video, so I'm going to manipulate this the best that we can. All right, so now what you're going to notice is if I put my cursor back here, I can select that line. I can bring up a white dot right there and right here. However, if I go up to my line tool and I attempt to place them on those spots, I cannot interact with them in any way, shape, or form. It's not going to do for me what I want it to do. So instead, what I have to do is I have to go to the P key again, and I need to project that line, because the only point that we really want is this one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our line tool, again, make sure it is not a construction line. And I'm going to kind of just put it right here off into the open, and I'm going to drag that line to that point. From there, you can see I have nothing attached to it, but I want to continue on by snapping back to that point that we used before, bringing it down, and then bringing it up, creating this triangle. Okay, so now we're going to dimension the triangle, and we want to go from this point to this point, and we want that to be 0.1. And then we're going to choose from this point to this point, and we want it to be 0.08. And that's going to kind of make this triangle just like so. Now I'm going to hit escape, so I have nothing on my cursor. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab this point, and you have to kind of grab it faster. So grab it, left click, and then just kind of drag it down. There you go. And I'm going to kind of drag it down so it kind of snaps onto that point right there. And then I'm going to grab this one and kind of leave it just where it is and hit finish sketch. And now I'm going to hit extrude. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to type in 0.4. And what's going to happen here is it's just going to kind of cut a piece of this off, just like we want it to be cut off. And we're going to hit OK. And that's what it's going to look like, just like so. All right, so now our next move is to basically get this cut and this cut on this side of our plane. So anytime we want to basically do the same thing on the other side or reflect it, we're going to use our mirror tool. So once we select the mirror tool, you're first going to select the most recent extrusion that we just did, which was this cutout space right here. And you can see that it didn't select it, and it's not selecting it because I have to come up to my object type and switch it to features. Now that I'm on features, now it's asking me, okay, well, what object would you want? And again, I want to choose this extrusion, and then I'm going to skip this extrusion, and I'm going to go to the one back here, which was this cut up at the top. And now that I have two things selected, I will choose the mirror plane that I want to select it over, which I have to turn to my side to be able to get. So if I turn to the right, there's the plane. So I select it, and you'll see this pop up. And if you turn it to the right, you will see that yes, it is in fact mirroring directly to the other side of the piece. So I can hit OK, and you will see that the cutouts are now exactly the same. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn this to the right, and we're going to do something new, something we haven't done before, which is right here under Expect, and we're going to go down to this thing that says Section Analysis. Okay, so when we select that, it's going to ask us, just like it always does, well, what plane would you like to take a section of? And we want the one on the right, so this one right here. So if I'm looking at the righter side of my cube, it's this one, and it'll cut my piece just like so. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, once that's there, I have to create a sketch, and I'm going to put it on that same exact plane that we just cut. From here, I'm going to zoom in a tad, and I'm going to hit the P key, and I want to project just this line right there. And you can see it's just turned black. It's the only option I have, only option I'm selecting. I'll select it, and I'll hit OK, and you can see the purple line shows up with our dots. From here, I'm going to offset that exact line. So come up here to our offset, select the line, and we're going to type in 0.02. And we're going to hit OK. All right, now I need to basically grab the space between these two lines. And the only way I can grab it is to make it a shape. And the only way I can make it a shape is by closing off these two lines right here. So step one, use your line tool, and we're going to place it from this purple dot to this black dot. And you will see our line snaps and turns black. Next, I'm going to zoom out, and I'm just going to make a line randomly, a horizontal line right there. And then I'm going to just hit this checkbox so I no longer have my line tool attached to my cursor. And now I have to dimension where I want that line. So I'll hit the D key, and I'm going to select this line, and now I'm going to select my origin point. And I want the distance between those two to be 0.7. And I'm going to hit enter, which brings this down. And now what that has just done is that's made a line connecting these two lines here, and it's made a line connecting these two lines here. So when I finish my sketch, which is what I'm going to do now, and I hit extrude, it's going to automatically select the only part that is actually, able to be extruded, which is the space between those two lines. Okay, so now in this case, we're going to turn it a little bit to the right so we can see it from this perspective. And the first thing I'm going to choose is the direction from one side, and I'm going to change it to symmetric. So now both of the arrows are going to move, so any distances I set will go in both directions. The next thing I'm going to do is you're going to see once you change it to distance, it's going to give you these two options. Do you want to do a half length or do you want to do a whole length? We want the whole length. And then we want to set that distance to 4. Just like so. And you're going to see that it's going to show a cut to the left, and it's also going to show a cut to the right, even though there's nothing there, which is exactly what we want, and we're going to hit OK. Now, the cut to the right disappears because, again, there's nothing there. However, if I come over to my side where all of our information is, and we go to where that analysis option is that we just basically used, and we turn off the eyeball to that, it will place the other portion of our piece back, and you will see that that cut now has, in fact, extended to the other direction. Excuse me. All right, so now we have completed all the really, truly challenging stuff with this carabiner top. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn it to the left, and we're going to turn on plane 3, which is on this side, and we're going to create a sketch on that plane. Now, I'm going to place a circle on this spot right here. So I'm just going to zoom in a little forward, select center diameter circle, and just put a circle right there somewhere. Once I have the circle on the side of my piece, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to hit the D key, and we're going to dimension it to where we want it. So the first dimension is going to run from the middle of the circle to our origin, and it's going to go straight out to the left. We do not want this one on an angle. We want this one to be a flat distance, and we want it to be 0.64. Next, we're going to go again from the center of our circle, and this time we want it right to the point on this corner here. So we'll select there, and then we're going to drag this one straight up again, and we want it to be 0.1. Now we've locked in place where the circle is. Now we just want to make sure that the circle is the right size itself. So we're going to select the circle, and we want it to be 0.06. Then we can hit enter. Now we have our fully constrained circle and its current location. So I'm going to finish my sketch. I'm going to grab my cube and turn it to the right. And I'm going to hit the extrude, grab this arrow, and just pull it to the left. Pull it far enough that it goes through both parts of our piece, and we're going to hit OK. And now we can see right through our pen carabiner top just like we wanted to. Okay, only a few more things to do, which basically starts with me putting in the threads on the bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sketch, and we're going to place it right on the bottom of our piece. Ignore all of these planes and just select down here on the bottom of the piece. And we're going to create a center diameter circle right there in the middle, and we're going to set it to 0.385 and hit enter. And we'll finish our sketch. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create an offset plane, and we're going to put it right on the bottom of our circle right here, and we're going to offset it to 0.225. Now, when I put in 0.225, mine's going down below my piece, and I really want it in the piece, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make that negative and see it pop up there. So if yours went up, then you're fine, you don't need to change it, but if it went down like mine did, put the negative sign and hit OK. And I'm going to kind of turn it so I can see the corners sticking out that I can grab, and I'm going to create a sketch and place it right on the bottom of that offset plane, so it'll spin it around this way, and I'm going to create a center diameter circle right on my center diameter, and I'll pull back, and it's going to be 0.37, and I'll hit enter and finish my sketch. Now, we have two circles separating each other, which is exactly what we want, two of them being different sizes so they can then loft together. But the problem is when we come here and we select loft, we can't grab that other circle. We can grab this one, but just not that one in there because it's in the middle of the piece. Yes, I know, I have no internet, I don't care. And to be able to fix that problem, we're going to come back over here to our sidebar, and right here where it says bodies, we're just going to close the eyeball on that body, which basically deletes everything. But don't worry, we can now just select the two circles like we want, and of course it's going to give me a warning like it does because it's telling me, well, wait a minute, how can I create something if there's nothing there? Well, if we come over here and we turn the body's eyeball back on, it's going to say, oh, wait a minute, there it is. Do you want me to cut that out? Yes, I do, and we hit OK. So we've created a hole in the bottom of our pen. Now we're going to create another sketch, and again we want it on the bottom of our pen, so I have to select this ring, and I am going to again put another center diameter circle right here in the middle, and this one I want to be 0.225. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to finish my sketch. I'm going to then extrude that circle to negative 0.35. And that's going to cut a even longer circle into the top of our pen, into our piece, just like so, and we're going to hit OK. All right, so our piece is made, except for the fact that we have to be able to screw the piece onto the top of the previous parts that we've already made, so we have to create the screw threads for this. But this one is a little wonkier in our overall process of doing it. So the way that we're going to do it is instead of making our thread, we're just going to come up here to create, and we're going to create a coil instead. Now, a coil works just like a plane would. So the first thing you have to do is select the plane you want to place it on, which is going to be this outer ring right here. And again, it doesn't move for us. So we're just going to place our cursor right on that middle, left click and drag back, and we're going to type in 0.37. And when we do, we're going to hit enter, and we're going to get this weird cut kind of looking coil thing that's going on. But don't worry, we're going to be able to fix all this. So the first thing we're going to choose is we're going to come up into our coil box, and we're going to select revolutions, and we're going to change this type to height and pitch. Next, we're going to come down to our height, and we're going to change that to 0.225. Now we're going to come into our pitch, and we're going to make that negative 0.05. And again, we're going to get some errors, but we can ignore it for the moment. Come down here to section, And we're going to change section to triangular internal. We're going to go to our section position. We'll make that inside. And we're going to set our section size to 0.02, which now our threads finally show up, but we don't want to cut it into we want to join it. So they make the threads for us to use. And we'll hit OK. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my home key. I'm going to select the bottom. And I'm going to turn it to my left just so I can show you that we have part of the thread sticking out the bottom, which we don't want. So we're going to come back to our cube, and I'm going to hit the home key again. And I'm going to flip it to the bottom like we've been looking at. And I'm going to create a sketch on this ring. And then I'm going to hit the P key, and I'm going to select the same ring. Once I've selected it, I can select OK, hit Finish Sketch. And what we're going to do is we're going to extrude just that circle, the circle that shows up right in the middle here when we place our cursor on it. When we select that spot, we're going to type in 0.15, which is going to cut from that spot downward, cutting off that piece that we could see before when we looked at it from that edge. Now it goes right up to the edge, which we don't want, so we're again going to create a sketch. We'll put it right on this ring one more time, create a center diameter circle, and we're going to name it, or dimension it, sorry, to 0.37 and hit enter. Now we can finish our sketch, and we will extrude that circle inward at a negative 0.03. And we're going to hit OK. And you're going to see what it's going to do is it's just going to cut inward a little bit, leaving a little bit of a space between the edge and the first thread. Now we have one more thing to do. We're going to create a sketch, and we're going to place it on this ring here in the back inside of our piece. Now, once we've done that, we're going to create a center diameter circle, and we're going to set it to 0.37. Hit enter, and we're going to finish our sketch. Okay, last part, we extrude it, and when we select extrude and we move our cursor on here, what we're going to see is the first ring kind of gets cut off by that thread piece that starts. So the first thing you should select is that little sliver of that thread piece. Then you're going to pull down a little bit and just select the rest of the ring. And then we're going to cut that to 0.045, which will again just kind of get rid of those threads in the bottom that are kind of in our way and won't, allow it to fully get up to where it needs to get up to. All right, so there is our piece, and I'm not sure why that's not working, so I'll just move it this way, and our carabiner top is done. Once you have the carabiner top, just like we always do, our first step is now to modify it to physical material. And go into our plastic, go through all the plastics to where we see our phenolic resin, choose plastic, drag it on, and hit close. Then go into modify and appearance, and go into paint, glossy, white, drag it on there, hit close, and we're going to save this piece and name it Carabiner Top. Once that name shows up at the top up here, we know that we are finished, so we can go ahead and see that our save icon is also grayed out, so we are done. So we can finish off our piece and be done with this and add this to the top. All right, good luck guys. I hope you work this out well, and I hope this video works well for you. Take care.